Cressing Temple in North Essex, a medieval farmstead home to the two oldest standing timber-framed barns in the world. Today the site and gardens are open as a museum run by Essex County Council. These medieval relics have constantly been in use since the 13th century when they were first built. They were built under the Knights Templar military Christian order, who at the time took part in the Crusades. Crusades were military expeditions in the Middle Ages, where kings and knights from Christian countries went to conquer Holy Land. When the site was constructed, it was effectively a base for the Templars, although they began to decline at the turn of the 14th century. This was due to the financial interests of King Philip IV of France, who outlawed them as heretics, sometimes burning them alive at the stake. At the time, a good, reliable barn would be made out of stone, although the Essex terrain meant that there was a lack of stone, so the engineers looked closer to home, at the hundreds of acres of forest that were around them. Local trees were easier to get, although they were unlikely to last as long or be as stable as stone barns. But, through intense and precise mathematical planning, the medieval craftsmen designed the duo of barns which are still standing, 800 years on. You can read more about how they designed and built the barns over at our website.
The oldest barn, which is the barley barn, was built about 1200 using local oak, enormous trees which were available then. And the wheat barn, which is the one with the brick infill, was built about 1250. There are slight differences in the actual technology of the timber between the two, showing a slight improvement on the barley barn. But the fact is they've been standing there on their own legs without any stone walls that hold them up for 800 years, and apart from the gale in 1987, which blew quite a lot of tiles off, they're still there for you to see at the moment.
So we're in the barley barn, the oldest of the two medieval barns that are at Cressing Temple today. Now this one was built 50 years before the other barn, the wheat barn, around 1205 to 1235, and you can see the timbers survived from then. However, it would have been used back in the Middle Ages for storing barley that would be used to make beer, and that was very important back then because water couldn't be sterilised and it was full of all sorts of nasties, so even children would have to drink beer.
The wheat barn was built around 50 years later and features only the original 13th century woodwork. In this barn, wheat would have been threshed with a flail, meaning it was hit to remove the useful parts. In the Tudor era, Henry VIII was king and ordered many of the buildings on the site to be demolished, including the central quarters of the Templars. This was due to Henry VIII being anti-Catholic. The Smythe family took ownership of the estate with a mansion being built, although it was demolished in the 18th century, but the Tudor farmhouse, granary, wagon lodge and stable yard are all still standing. The site passed between various owners until 1971, when owner Frank Cullen gave up ownership and passed away around this time. He was the final owner to the estate, having owned it since he bought it in 1913. His nephew Anthony Cullen kept the estate for 7 more years until it was about to go on the market, when Essex County Council stepped in to buy it for its historical interest. In addition to the barns, there are other treasures at the site. The brick-walled garden that remains today was built in the Elizabethan era. The garden features heavily scented plants to take you back in time. The herbs and flowers would have generally had practical applicants for medicine or food and drink, or even chamomile for tea. The estate also has a thatched tractor barn from around the 1700s, where the farm machinery would have been stored. There is also a more recent well house used to store the well and pump, which even still works.
So that concludes our fascinating tour of Cressing Temple, medieval farmstead that's been in use for hundreds of years.
And you can see all of our photos that were taken today on our website, beyondthepoint.co.uk, and also on our Facebook page where you'll find a link on there. And also on our website you'll find an article detailing the whole history of this site, where you'll also be able to read and see about many other places across Essex and the South East. But that's all from us for now.